When you're building a high-performance backend, you're always walking this tightrope, right? You're trying to balance raw speed with deep insight. How do you get those sub-millisecond response times, but also have the visibility to know what's going on when things go wrong? Well, today we're going deep on that exact relationship between caching and observability. It's the real, unseen engine that keeps the world's biggest e-commerce sites running.
So, let's set the scene. It's Black Friday, the Super Bowl for any e-commerce platform. A huge flash sale just dropped, and your backend is getting absolutely slammed with 10,000 requests every single second. The pressure is on. Every millisecond of delay is costing you money, and every error can mean a lost customer for good.
And then, it happens. The alerts start screaming. Your API latency is going through the roof. The database CPU is pinned at 100%. The whole system is starting to creak under the load. So, as the architect, you have to answer the one question that matters most. Do you actually know why? Or are you just flying completely blind?
This whole scenario, we'll just call it the Black Friday bottleneck. It's the ultimate stress test, you know? It's what really separates the architectures that can scale from the ones that just fall over. So today, we're going to architect our way out of it. The fix for this really comes down to two key ideas that have to work together. On one side, you've got caching. That's our raw speed. Its whole job is to cut down latency and give users that snappy experience they expect. On the other side, you have observability. This is all about insight, understanding what your system is doing so you can find those nasty bottlenecks. Now here's the crucial part. You can't have one without the other. Caching by itself can hide huge problems, and observability on its own just tells you something's broken. It doesn't actually fix the performance.
Okay, so let's tackle the first piece of the puzzle, getting that blazing speed with some smart caching.
At its heart, caching is a really simple concept. You're just storing data you use all the time in a super fast layer, like Redis, so you don't have to make that slow, expensive trip to your main database every single time. The whole point is to take the pressure off your database and, more importantly, make your application feel instantaneous.
And this right here shows one of the most popular ways to do it, a strategy called lazy loading. So a request comes in, and the first thing our app does is check the cache. If the data's there, boom, that's a cache hit, we send it back instantly. If it's not there, that's a cache miss, we go get it from the database, send it to the user, and, this is key, we also write it back into the cache. That way the very next person who asks for it gets a super fast response.
But like we said, speed isn't everything. If you're not careful, you could be serving old, stale data, or your database could be on fire and you wouldn't even know it. And that brings us to our second pillar, observability.
Now, observability is more than just looking at a few dashboards. It's about having the power to understand what's happening inside your system just by looking at the data it puts out. You know, its logs, its metrics, its traces. It's what lets you ask new questions about your system's behavior, questions you didn't even know you needed to ask when you built it. And that's absolutely critical for debugging today's complex systems. To really achieve that observability, we focus on what are famously known as the 4 golden signals. Think of these as the vital signs for your service. You've got latency, which tells you how slow things are, traffic, which is just how much demand you're under, errors, which tracks how often things are failing, and finally, saturation, which tells you how close you are to maxing out your resources like CPU or memory. Together, these 4 give you a fantastic high-level snapshot of your system's health.
All right, enough theory. Let's make this real. We're going to walk through a quick case study and actually fix a slow product page in our e-commerce app.
So our observability tools are lighting up like a Christmas tree. The API endpoint for fetching product details, it's taking an average of 200 milliseconds to respond when we're under load. Now, in the world of e-commerce, 200 milliseconds is an eternity. It's a huge bottleneck, and we have to crush it.
And here's what that pain looks like visually. This is a dashboard from Grafana, a really common tool for this stuff. You can see it clear as day. The 99th percentile latency for our product API is spiking way over that 200 millisecond line. This is our before picture. Our system is telling us exactly where it hurts.
So here's our game plan. It's a 3-step solution that brings our 2 big ideas together. First, we're going to put that Redis caching logic in place. Second, we're going to instrument our code, basically add some tracking to count our cache hits and misses. And third, we'll expose those new metrics so a tool like Prometheus can come and grab them.
All right, let's take a quick look at the code here. When a request for a product comes in, the first thing we do is check Redis. If we find something, that's our if cached product block. We increment our cache hits counter, that's our observability piece, and send the data right back, super fast.
But if we don't find it, we increment the cache misses counter, go fetch the product from the main database, and then, right here, we set it back into Redis with a 1-hour expiration time. So the next request is guaranteed to be a hit.
And would you look at that? Here's our after picture. It's the same Grafana dashboard, but now our P99 latency is rock solid, way down below 5 milliseconds. The difference is just night and day. We can see that our fix worked.
Let's put a hard number on that. We went from 200 milliseconds all the way down to 5. That's a 97.5% reduction in latency. That is a huge win, and it's the kind of optimization that you can directly tie to a better user experience and, honestly, more sales.
So what's the big picture lesson here? At the end of the day, it's all about finding that perfect balance. It's what I like to call the architect's balancing act.
And this isn't something you do just once. It's a continuous loop, a virtuous cycle. You start by observing your system to find a problem. Then you optimize it with a tool like caching. Next, you verify that your fix actually worked, using those same metrics. And finally, you just repeat. Because in any complex system, there's always another bottleneck just waiting to be found.
If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this idea right here. Speed without insight is a race to failure. Insight without speed is a missed opportunity. The first one gets you those massive, mysterious outages nobody can figure out. The second one gives you a stable system that's too slow for anyone to actually use. You absolutely need both.
So I'll just leave you with this one last question to think about for your own systems. You've made it fast, and you can see what's happening, but have you struck that perfect balance to make it not just fast, but truly resilient?